Okay, so good day po my fellow taong bayan mga Kasimor, at ngayon po pag-usapan natin yung nangyari kagabi sa Senate of the Philippines kung saan nagkaroon po ng putukan allegedly between the NBI and the OSAA po. So yung nabalitaan ko po based on all the articles I've read at yung mga press con pong napanood ko ay may nagdi-drill daw kasi sa side nung GSIS building. So para maintindihan nyo po talaga, yung Senate of the Philippines po kasi na building, party po yan ng GSIS building talaga, tapos nakarent lang po yung Philippine Senate doon. Therefore, connected po yan, yung GSIS main office plus the Senate building. So anyway, going back po, yung nangyari dyan, may naririnig pong nagdi-drill doon sa side ng GSIS. So yung side po ng Senate, yung OSAA with the Marines, ay nag-prepare kung ano man yung tumawid from the GSIS side. And eventually po, ang sabi ni Senator Cayetano together with Secretary John Vic dito po sa press ko na to, pwede nyo po ito mapanood sa page niya, is that galing daw yung warning shot from the OSAA, tapos nagkaroon ng mga return fire from the side of the alleged NBI agents daw po. And the reason daw po kaya nagtangkang pumasok yung mga individuals na yun who are alleged to be NBI agents from the side of the GSIS ay para arestuhin po si Senator Bato. Yun yung mga allegations ngayon from different sources. So for today po, ang i-discuss ko sa inyo ay kung pwede ba talaga yan arestuhin at isurrender si Senator Bato dun sa ICC. At i-discuss ko po lahat based on the constitutional basis po niyan, and then yung mga regular laws po natin, and then let's also discuss yung mga international foreign policy matters din po para hopefully po maging klaro talaga yung lahat. And then yung request ko lang po sa lahat ng nanonood ng video na to, when you watch this explainer of mine, I suggest po talaga na wag natin tingnan siya on a political color point of view. Tingnan lang po natin sa point of view po natin as a Filipino citizen first and foremost. Kasi masyado na pong divided currently yung country politically. And if you actually look at the main issue dito, yung naging source of nung alleged putukan na yun between two government offices ay because of an international document. So kung ako po ang tatanungin ninyo, it is actually very unreasonable at pangit po pakinggan na dahil sa isang international document ay yun nga po nagkaroon ng barilan sa kapwa Pilipino. Pero before po tayo magsimula, just a quick reminder lang po sa inyong lahat mga Kasimor tungkol po sa kaibigan natin for today's video, which is yung TapTapSend app po. So TapTapSend is a remittance or ipadala app po yan kung saan meron na pong millions of downloads and users worldwide. So kung kayo po ay isang OFW na nakabase sa Brazil, US, Europe, UK, Canada, Australia, or United Arab Emirates, I hopefully po you can consider using TapTapSend app kasi zero transfer fees po yan sa mga e-wallets at mobile banking apps dito sa Pilipinas. And aside from that po, if you use my promo code Attorney Neil, one word lang po yan, maka-receive din po kayo ng free $20 sa una po ninyong padala sa loved ones niyo na nandito sa Pilipinas. So again, TapTapSend app po, visit lang kayo sa website na www.taptapsend.com, and then i-click nyo lang po tong Google Play or App Store, depende po kung ano yung phone na gamit niyo para ma-download yung app na yan. Okay, so ngayon po, tuloy tayo sa discussion. So, i-discuss ko po muna yung RA 9851 kasi ito po yung ginagamit as basis kaya pwede daw surrender at arestuhin via an international warrant ang isang Filipino citizen. So, ngayon pupunta po tayo sa Section 17 kasi ito po yung laging sinasabing basihan kaya pwede lang i-surrender diretso ang isang Filipino citizen to an international tribunal via an international warrant of arrest. Okay, so Chapter 7, Jurisdiction, Section 17. And to be specific po, yung relevant provision sa atin is yung second paragraph. So kung makita po ninyo dito, in the interest of justice, the relevant Philippine authorities may dispense with the investigation or prosecution of a crime punishable under this act if another court or tribunal is already conducting the investigation or undertaking the prosecution of such crime. So ito pong first sentence na to, ang ibig sabihin, pag meron na pong similar crime na crimes against humanity na ginagawa sa ibang bansa or sa ibang international court, the Philippine authorities may dispense, meaning pwede pong hindi na gawin ng Philippine government yung pag-investigate ng similar crimes na yon. Pero ang i-take note nyo po dito, ang sinabi lang naman ng government may dispense with, meaning pwedeng hindi na nila imbestigahan or hawakan po or i-prosecute po yung kaso. So in other words, kung gugustuhin ng government, pwede pa rin talaga mag-file ng case in relation to this law against Filipino citizens na involved dun sa mga crimes against humanity. Okay? And then pangalawa po na magandang i-take note natin dito is yung sa second sentence, ang sinabi lang din po dito, the authorities may surrender or extradite suspected or accused persons in the Philippines to the appropriate international court if any or to another state pursuant to the applicable extradition laws and treaties. So again, ang iti-take note po natin, may surrender or extradite din po ang ginamit na term ng batas natin. Meaning, hindi po mandatory na porket may nirelease na International Criminal Court warrant of arrest ay automatic dapat isurrender or i-extradite talaga ng government natin yung Filipino citizen na yun. Kasi again, yung ginamit po na word is may surrender or extradite. Okay, and then yung next po na gusto ko i-point out dito, sinabi nga ng batas na may surrender or extradite, pero if we look at the entire RA 9851, wala pong definition of terms or proper procedure kung paano gawin itong surrender provision. In other words, hindi po sinabi ng batas na to kung saan mag-a-apply, saan pupunta para masurrender ang isang Pilipino dun sa International Criminal Court. Okay, so ngayon, ang next question po natin, kung walang ganung provision under ordinary statutes or regular laws po natin tungkol dito sa surrender, ano yung next pupuntahan natin? So pag ganyan po, titingnan natin ngayon yung sa Supreme Court naman kasi they also have the power to promulgate rules of procedure. So ang next question po natin, may ginawa bang rules of procedure yung Supreme Court tungkol sa surrender? Unfortunately, wala pong ginawang rules of procedure yung Supreme Court. Ang linabas lang po ng Supreme Court is the Rules on Extradition Proceedings. And this was released by the Supreme Court after dun sa issue pong nangyari kay FPRRD nung pinadala po siya sa The Hague. Okay, so again, going back, wala pong rules on surrender na binigay yung Supreme Court pero meron po silang Rules on Extradition Proceedings. And because wala pong clear rules on surrender, kung paano yung proper surrender, yung mga ayaw po dun sa ICC warrant na bawal daw po automatically implement, ay nag-i-insist na dapat idaan dito sa extradition proceedings. So if we look at kasi itong extradition rules na ginawa po ng Supreme Court, talagang nakaspecify po na dadaan talaga sa korte ba sa extradition. So number 1, so dito po section 1, commencement of action. An action for extradition is commenced by filing of a petition by the central authority before the extradition court. So magpa-file po talaga ng petition sa extradition court para masimulan yung extradition proceedings. Okay, pero ngayon alam ko rin naman po yung counter-argument dito ng extradition at surrender ay two different things. Diba? Because extradition is subjected to extradition treaties whereas surrender ay yung interpretation ng mga pro dun sa ICC warrant ay literal daw na isurrender lang ang isang Filipino to an international tribunal. But again, going back, the main issue po ay magkaiba yung extradition at surrender. Therefore, hindi pwede i-apply itong extradition pag i-enforce po itong may surrender provision ng Section 17 of RA 9851. Okay, so ngayon ang next question po natin, kung ganun na ang current situation, ano po ang masusunod na batas na? Since wala naman pong rules or batas about surrender, ang meron lang extradition pero iba nga yun sa surrender. So pag ganyan po, pupunta na lang tayo sa basics. At yung basics po niyan is none other than the supreme law of the land, the 1987 Constitution po of the Republic of the Philippines. Quick break lang mga kasimor, gusto ko lang po magpasalamat because we have recently crossed 400,000 subscribers sa YouTube. So maraming salamat po sa mga nakasubscribe na. Thank you in advance sa mga magsasubscribe pa lang. At sa mga nanonood po ngayon, hopefully you can consider liking and subscribing this video. So tandaan po ninyo, pag sa YouTube kayo mag-subscribe, 100% free ang YouTube subscription. Okay, ngayon po, tuloy tayo sa discussion. At for that po, ang una nating titingnan talaga is Section 1, yung pinakaunang section po sa Article 3. The Bill of Rights po natin na lahat ng nandito sa Republika ng Pilipinas. So kung makita po nyo ang sinabi dyan, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Okay, so ngayon po sa situation na dinidiscuss natin, ano ba ang posibleng mangyari? Ang posible pong mangyari ay magkaroon ng deprivation of liberty ni Senator Bato considering pag-i-implement po yung ICC warrant ay dadalhin po siya dun sa The Hague at madedetain na po siya doon. And therefore, if he is detained, he is already deprived of his liberty. At yun nga po ang sabi ng Bill of Rights natin, if a person will be deprived of liberty, dapat po dumaan yung due process or mabigyan po siya ng due process. Okay? So when you say due process po, yung unang-una dyan is of course the right to be notified. And then pangalawa po, the right to explain himself. So currently, since si Senator Bato po ay hindi mabibigyan ng right to explain dito po sa local courts natin kasi pag ma-implement yung ICC warrant, automatic, dadalhin lang siya agad sa The Hague. So therefore, it can really be argued po na magkakaroon ng violation ng right to due process niya in relation to his right to liberty. Okay, so of course, alam ko rin naman po yung kabilang side niyan na ang position nila ay unfair naman yun kasi paano magiging accountable si Senator Bato dun sa ICC kung dadaan pa pala siya sa local judicial process. So sa ganyang situation po, makikita natin ngayon na talagang may two legal sides na on a certain issue, di ba? Yung mga pro na pwede automatic implement yung ICC warrant and of course yung mga anti na hindi pwede automatic, kailangan mo na magdaan po or dumaan sa local courts natin. So because there are now two opposing legal positions, ano po ba yung next mangyayari dyan? Sino po ang proper venue para i-address kung meron pong legal conflict between different parties? At ang sagot po dyan is none other than the judiciary po ng Republika ng Pilipinas. So ngayon po, titingnan natin Article 8, Judicial Department. Nasa Section 1 lang din po tayo ng Article 8. Ang sabi po dito, judicial power includes the duty of the courts of justice to settle actual controversies involving rights which are legally demandable and enforceable. So currently sa situation nga po natin, may dalawang groups na or dalawang legal position, which is yung isa, pwede daw i-automatically implement yung ICC warrant, tapos pangalawa, hindi pwede automatically implement yung ICC warrant. So that is a clear example po of an actual controversy na dapat korte po talaga yung mag-settle. So because of that po, may kita po talaga natin na talagang bumabalik yung issue na to a judicial process kasi yun nga po, nagkakaroon na ng legal conflict between different parties. Therefore, it is really ripe for the Judicial Department na isettle po yung actual controversy na yun. So overall, di ba, may kita po talaga natin kahit na po anong liko-liko ng mga arguments ng both parties, it will really go back po to a judicial process one way or another kasi nagkakaroon na po ng actual legal judicial controversy between different individuals. Okay, so ngayon, ang next naman po nating papag-usapan is yung tungkol naman sa mga foreign policies, di ba? Considering na yung architect when it comes to foreign relations is the president. So ngayon, i-discuss ko po sa inyo kung ano ba yung limits ng foreign relation powers po ng presidente. Okay, so una po, I agree with everyone na prerogative ng executive when it comes to mga foreign relations because that has been consistently held po by the Supreme Court na yung architect talaga pag foreign relations is the president kasi siya po yung head ng executive department. At ang limitation lang po ng power na yan ay nasa Article 2 naman po ng 1987 Constitution, Declaration of Principles and State Policies, and to be specific po, nasa Section 7 yan siya. So kung makita po ninyo, the state shall pursue an independent foreign policy in its relations with other states. The paramount consideration shall be national sovereignty, territorial integrity, national interest, and the right to self-determination. So in very simple terms po, itong mga guidelines na to na sinet ng Section 7, ibig sabihin po nito na pag makikipag-deal po ang isang presidente natin, dapat ang mindset talaga niya is Filipino first. Meaning kung ano yung most beneficial po to the Filipino people and to the Republic of the Philippines. Ganun po dapat yung mindset pag nakikipag-transact po siya with mga foreign bodies, may it be another country or in this case po, international tribunal like that of the ICC. So, yung pinaka-point ko lang po why I am sharing this limitation or guideline provided by the Constitution, kasi pag hindi po favorable to a Filipino citizen or to the Filipino people yung action ng presidente, ay unconstitutional po yan. So currently in the situation po kasi of Senator Bato, ang gusto mangyari, automatic, i-implement lang agad yung ICC warrant sa territory natin. So ang question, is that favorable po ba to the Filipino people or to a Filipino citizen? At kung ako po ang tatanungin ninyo, hindi po yan favorable because ang magiging interpretation po niyan ng international community sa ganyang action ay we have a failed judicial system. Okay? And the reason being po is because yung ICC po and the Rome Statute, it functions po on what we call principle of complementarity. So when you say principle of complementarity, ang ibig sabihin po niyan ay gagawin ng ICC yung trabaho nila. Pag hindi kaya gawin ng isang bansa yung trabaho nila in relation to crimes against humanity. At ako po as a practicing lawyer, hindi ko po kaya tanggapin yun. Diba? I'll be completely honest with all of you. Currently po ako sa practice ko, I have 2 lawyers who are working with me. We handle numerous cases on a regular basis. At meron na rin po kaming ilang kasong napanalunan together. Yan lang po ang masasabi ko, hindi ko matanggap na sabihin na failed yung judicial system natin. Pero anyway po, despite my personal reasons, ako nagsishare na lang din po ako ng personal experience ko para mas matindihan ninyo. And kung ako tatanungin nyo, hindi po nag-fail yung judicial system natin. Agree ako na there are a lot of room for improvement, but it is a functioning judicial system nonetheless. And yung isa pa po na gusto ko lang din i-share dito, kung titingnan po kasi natin, bakit natin masyadong pinapadali yung mga gustong mandato ng International Tribunal dito sa atin? Tapos ang maapektuhan nga no, not only our international image in relation to judicial matters, but regular Filipino citizens. Kung maging stricto lang po na pumunta muna sa local courts before ma-implement ang international warrant, kung ako po tatanungin, that is actually more beneficial po to a ordinary Filipino citizen and to the Filipino people in general. So if we relate it to this, yung Section 7, di ba yung main purpose nga, pag mga foreign relations pinapag-usapan, it should always be Filipino first mindset. What is most beneficial po for the Filipino citizen and for the Republic. So pag ganun na automatic na-acknowledge, na-recognize natin international documents, ang dating po ngayon, parang mas pinapaboran pa natin yung mga foreign tribunals versus the Filipino people. Ganun din po kasi yung magiging perception yan ng taong bayan kasi it will defeat po the Filipino First Foreign Relation Guideline as set by Section 7 of Article 2. Okay, and then yung last ko pong i-discuss ngayon para klaro talaga ay pag-usapan din po natin yung Rome Statute. So alam ko naman po na wala na tayo sa Rome Statute, but I think it is still good to discuss the provisions there kasi makita natin yung mga due process provisions din po na nakalagay doon. Okay, so this one po, Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, and then yung relevant provision po natin is Article 59. So una-una po, again, i-clarify ko na alam ko na hindi naman na po tayo member party or a member state to the Rome Statute. Therefore, pwede ma-argue na itong mga provisions na to does not apply already to the Filipino people or to the Republic of the Philippines. But ang counter-argument ko lang po dyan, since we are recognizing the residual jurisdiction of the Rome Statute dito sa atin, bakit hindi na lang po natin i-recognize itong Article 59 which is more beneficial po to the Filipino people at to the Republic of the Philippines. Kasi kung titingnan po ninyo dito, sa number 1 and 2, sinabi talaga dito na a person arrested shall be brought promptly before the competent judicial authority in the custodial state. Tapos ito, ABC, it is very self-explanatory. So dito sa Rome Statute itself, it states na dumaan muna ng local judicial process. And again, kung ako po tatanungin, this is actually more beneficial po to a Filipino citizen who will be surrendered or arrested to the ICC kasi this will fully protect po his right to liberty, life, liberty, and property before po siya mapadala dun sa The Hague. And yung position ko lang po dito is very simple and straightforward. I personally believe this is beneficial to the Filipino people kung fully to ma-implement kasi mas mapoprotektahan po yung right to life, liberty, and property niya. Therefore, that will fall under the guidelines set by Section 7 of Article 2 in relation to foreign relations. Diba? So yan po sana yung maging consideration natin. Wag yung mga political affiliations lang of the persons na pinapangalanan or involved. Tingnan po natin siya as a Filipino citizen first and foremost. Tapos tingnan po natin ano ba yung most beneficial para sa kapwa po natin Pilipino regardless of political affiliation. And then lastly po, ang masasabi ko lang din is tungkol nga po dito sa Rome Statute, diba, yung mga superpowers like the United States of America, hindi nga nire-respeto po yung Rome Statute. So, wag naman po sana tayo na parang sobrang excited ba mag-surrender ng kapwa natin Filipino citizen just because we have a different political affiliation from them. Because again, dapat hindi po ganun. Dapat Filipino first mindset po tayo at wag tayo basta-basta lang sumunod po sa mga directives sa mga foreign powers na yan or foreign tribunals. In simple terms, magkaroon naman po tayo ng sense of pride not only in our judicial system but overall po as Filipino citizens. Yung in a way na talagang pagtingnan po tayo ng ibang bansa ay kahanga-hanga yung Republika ng Pilipinas. Alam ko po malayo pa tayo doon kasi currently nga we are very politically divided. But I think if we do our part, lalo na po tayong mga ordinary members of the taong bayan, dahan-dahanin lang po natin. We keep reminding our leaders to follow the rule of law. And eventually naman po siguro our country will prosper and hopefully have a better Philippines come na magkaisip na po at tumanda yung dalawa kong anak. Okay, so ayoko na masyado maging personal about this, but this really involves po kasi the future of our country kasi sovereignty rin po yung isang pinapag-usapan dito eh. So anyway po, yan lang ang masasabi ko as to this legal issue. Hopefully klaro po yan. If you like more legal videos and current events, subscribe lang po kayo sa channel ko. And until next time, see you all po. Bye-bye!